Hey guys, in this video, we're going to talk about pivot points. Now, pivot points are a calculation used to try to determine short-term trends and momentum of a particular underlying. So what it does is it uses a formula and it takes an average of the low, the high, and the previous day's close, and it takes an average of that, and that creates a pivot point. So that is sort of like a center line that we are looking at, and on each side of that center line, you can use the same pivot point to have different calculations for the next resistances and the next close. So especially in stocks where you're kind of either up you had a huge run up, you're at 52-day highs, you're at lows, you're kind of in the middle, don't really have a whole lot to go off of as support and resistance wise. Pivot points are nice because it creates its own it uses a calculation to determine supports and resistances for you short term. All right. And then obviously, then you can use those and play off of those rather than just kind of guessing. So on target here on the daily chart, you can see we're currently trading at 221.70. But really, support and resistance wise, what are we looking at? The 9-day EMA is all the way up here at 225.48. So we know that will be a resistance, but what about up until then? I mean, that's $4 away, right? That's a huge move away. It's a 2% move away almost that we're looking at in here. So what happens until we get up there? And support wise, we have the low that came in here on the 20th down here around that 214-ish range. But really, what else are we going to be looking at? So we're not really sure. So what we can do is we can use pivot points here to kind of help us determine short-term intraday momentum and what we're looking at as far as support and resistance here. So the formulation that we're going to use for just our pivot point or our center line is going to be the high plus the low plus the previous day's close divided by 3. So you're taking the average of the high, low, and the previous day's close. And you can see here our pivot point is at 218.67. So that is considered our pivot point. So anything above that, and if we're closed anywhere above that, it's considered bullish. Anything below is considered bearish. But what about our other supports and resistances until then? Well, that's where we have these R1, R2, R3s. So how we calculate those, the R1 is going to be that pivot point average times 2 minus the low. The R2 is going to be that pivot point plus the high minus the low. Our S1 is going to be that pivot point times 2 minus the high, and then our S2 is going to be that pivot point minus the high minus the low. And that's how you get your next resistances. So you can see here, really if we are above this pivot point here, 218.67, our next resistance is going to be that 220. Above that, we're looking at 222.95, and then we're looking at 224.62, and we're currently trading at what, 221.70. So we are above that first R1. So what we're looking at is the R2 here at 222.95. So that's going to be a nice resistance here in here for us. And really, with just looking at the chart, we really wouldn't have had any idea that was going to be a resistance. So that would be a key area for us to kind of watch out for if we do end up closing above that in the next trading session. What exactly are we looking for? Same with supports. Our supports down here below the pivot are going to be that 216.06, 214.39, and then the 211.78. So it's a really nice formulation just to give you a quick short idea of immediate supports and resistances. And if you are trading above that pivot point or that center line you close above that pivot point, that center line, that is considered a bullish move. And if you close below it, that is considered a bearish move. So all in all, pretty nice little technical analysis indicator here. The pivot points are something to use and look out for, especially when you're not really sure exactly where that next resistance or support is. You can use your own calculation here for your pivot point and then determine them by that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to check us out on our social media. We have attached links to our socials in the description. And we also have a trading service if you're interested. There's more information in the description below.